Sup, Reitannite, Reitanna Seishin here. I want to discuss some details that I wish for Muffins fans to be aware of. So, here we go. I wrote this down. It'll be on my DA when I come back. But I'm not editing this since I'm taking a narration hiatus. I don't want to edit any audio. So, and stutters are very, very likely. Alright. I understand wanting to ship certain characters with others, and I know not everyone agrees with every ship. However, sometimes there's a good reason not to ship certain characters, and sometimes we ignore those reasons completely, and I am one of those people on many occasions. If there's any shipping that creeps me out, it's Sonic shippings and My Little Pony shippings. I feel like sexualizing animals, even if they show human characteristics, is nasty because it makes it seem like the human shipping them is attracted to said animals. I know My Little Pony has its couples, but thankfully, since it's a kid's show, it's not in your face, like making out. When people draw Rule 34 pony shippings, no. Still, it seems that some of my Muffins fans like to ship a couple of the characters, so I feel it necessary to provide the reasons why you shouldn't, and then you choose whether or not to ignore them. For this, I will need to turn the bakers into humans so I don't gross myself out. Remember, this only applies to the Muffins versions of these characters. This is not canon to the show, nor am I saying the show's versions are how I describe. Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie is a little difficult to tell since she is more focused on having fun than love. Being 19 when the series started, she definitely should be interested in dating and sex like most teens and young adults are. However, most sociopaths find it difficult to form lasting relationships, though it's not unheard of. What makes the Bakers not full-blown psychopaths is their ability to love one another as family. Still, Pinkie is truly more keen on having fun with said family and would most likely kill any potential partners. It can't be certain what her sexual preference is, but judging by her behavior, her free-mindedness, and eccentric spirit, it's safe to assume that if she were to fall in love, she wouldn't care what gender they were. Based on these factors, Pinkie Pie is most likely pansexual. Applebloom. She's a filly, 10 years old at the time Muffins started, so she is much too young to understand sexual preferences. Like many children, she can have crushes, and maybe she did before she joined Pinkie. Of course, Pinkie is an expert manipulator, so she deliberately broke Applebloom's ability to empathize with most people. I turned them into people. I wrote ponies, without even knowing it. Let's age her up to about 16. Hormones are... I didn't proofread this, so I might make corrections while I'm reading this. Hormones are going crazy, so obviously she's going to have sexual feelings in general. Like a majority of the population, she may turn to masturbation, but naturally, we don't actually know that. As for Pinkie mentioned above, I don't think she'd be the type to masturbate because any sexual tension is worked out through her natural energy. At 10 years old, we have not seen her actually take a shine to anyone, but did have a boy take a shine to her, Cedar. Let's go back to age 16 and pretend Cedar is alive. Would Applebloom show an interest back? Most likely, but only for physical reasons, as she would not be able to love him unless she managed to recover some form of empathy. He's in love with her, so she'd use this as an advantage to get what she wanted by pretending to love him back. Sex, that's all. She doesn't seem to show any interest toward any other gender, so based on all of this, Applebloom will turn out straight once she's old enough to know. I need to drink water. Alrighty. Derpy. We know for a fact that Derpy Hooves is asexual. The reason? She may be around the same age as Pinkie, but she has the mind of a child. Children do not think about sexual feelings, but may have a mild curiosity in sex itself. However, Derpy was never taught about sex, nor had she ever seen it. And if she had, her mind would not allow her to comprehend what was going on. She remains innocent, and based on her past, she's never actually had any crushes. Giving Spectrum a kiss was the closest thing she did, but naturally she associates associates kissing with family love, and this quote-unquote kiss was merely an innocent yet taunting gesture. Whenever Derpy says she loves someone, it's to show she cares about them. Unlike the other bakers, Derpy is not actually a sociopath. She is completely able to feel empathy for other people, but she chooses who she wants to care about. She knows what she wants, and that's a family and muffins because she missed out on having a loving family. A clear hatred for the world that ostracized her causes her to want to cause pain to the people they torture. Her adult body may feel arousal, but Derpy does not understand what they are and mistakes them for general excitement. She will take this feeling and exercise it by doing what she always does when excited, playing around, singing, dancing, flying, and of course, baking. Derpy is, and always be, asexual, completely lacking any sexual urges.
Pardon me.
I'm tired as always. Alright. Inky Pie. Alright, here comes the fun part. Inky Pie is very narcissistic, likes to flaunt and strut, and knows that she is quite the looker. Being in her mid-20s, it's perfectly natural for her to embrace her sexuality and show it off, especially since her body is very well developed. Her seductive expressions, her graceful movements, and her low, soothing voice is enough to catch the attention of many. Alone, she would definitely be the type to love her own body, and frequently. She would not be shy about it, so if someone walked in, it wouldn't freak her out, but she'd make fun of the person who saw her. As for a relationship with someone else, she is a bit closer to a psychopath than the others, so her desires would be for personal gain. Her partner would be her slave, using her sex appeal to get them to do whatever she wanted, and that includes sex. Would she care about them? No, because they are nothing but a toy, since she sees everyone except her family as objects put there for her amusement. She's just too full of herself to fall in love. But what's her preference? She has shown interest in females, as was the case with Stella Burst. She didn't want to be romantic with her, but nonetheless, she found her so physically appealing that she fell in love in a different way. This attraction shows that she would be open to finding a partner of the same sex, especially because of her high drive. This also doesn't rule out the possibility of engaging with a man. Of course, Inky has the highest opinion of herself, and let's face it, isn't very open-minded. I have to sneeze. To say she would not want to have a sexual relationship with another gender other than male or female is completely apparent, so she is bisexual. She might lean more toward men than women just because of certain parts feeling better than others. I made a typo. Blinky Pie. Blinky Pie is not hard to place. She is very angry, hot-tempered, controlling, and most of all prone to jealousy. She states on many occasions that she hates pretty girls because she believes she is not pretty. She is indeed pretty, but because she is not vain by nature, her father's lectures on pretty girls being whores really got to her, and she was conditioned to believe she couldn't be pretty. Thus, she was ugly. As a young adult, she's gone past the point to where you could uncondition her, so telling her she's pretty will never convince her so. She would never take any feminine partner because she would most likely hate them for being prettier than her, and she's just shallow enough to not want an ugly partner. Blinky would be the type to indulge... Are you squeaking? My rats are squeaking. Blinky Pie would be the type to indulge in her sexual urges, but would feel ashamed of herself for doing something as, quote-unquote, degrading as pleasuring herself, since obviously her family drilled it into her mind that it's a sin. Still, she'd do it anyway, but would have to avoid looking in the mirror for a little while. All in all, if she were to take a sexual partner, it would be a masculine male, and due to her abusive nature, he would also be used for selfish reasons. Blinky Pie is straight. Minke Pie. Minky is asexual to the point where she shuns all sexual urges or thoughts. She is literally disgusted with even the idea of sex. You see, she associates sexual intercourse with birth. She associates birth with her birth. And she associates that with her parents. Minky resents resents her parents and her birth, so naturally she has issues with accepting that that's how babies are made. As far as she's concerned, both the act of sex and giving birth do not exist, and she'd rather force herself to believe that babies are delivered by storks. She does not hate children, just how they're made and how they come out. As far as masturbation is concerned, she is indeed an older adult in her late 20s, so she's actually closer to her prime than the others. Regardless, her disgust will usually prevent her from getting aroused, since she does not have sexual thoughts. But if she does feel aroused, it doesn't consume her, it does not make her feel needy or desperate to satisfy herself. She either completely ignores it until it goes away, distracts herself with something she actually enjoys, or punishes herself with self-disgust. If someone were to hit on her, she would act like they had insulted her loved ones and beat the shit out of him or her. How dare they have the audacity to do something as vile as showing physical attraction? How dare they assume that she would be interested in something so hideous and wrong? Only a monster would insult her with such an act. These are her, not opinions, but beliefs about the matter, and nothing can undo this. To her, sex is a crime far worse than what the Bakers do, which is why none of the others will discuss it around her if it comes up, not that it does very often. I made another typo. And last but not least, Babs. This is a long one. Babs Seed is also a 10-year-old child, same age as Applebloom, though I imagine she's a few months older. She too is not yet old enough to understand sex or able to figure out who she's attracted to. So, just as we did to her cousin, let's age Babs up to 16. Just like Inky Pie, Babs has a pretty high opinion of herself. Now that she knows what she's capable of. Sorry. However, she's a bit more boyish than the others, but not so much that she won't show off her body, even though it's not quite as thrilling as Inky's. Usually Babs will don more risque clothing for parties, and not just because she wants to look sexy. Unlike Inky, she'll dress this way as an act of rebellion to society, and not to garner anyone's attention. Still, she maintains a tomboyish look with anything she wears, even dresses or skirts, though she prefers pants and shorts. With her teenage sexual urges, I imagine Babs would be one of those people who masturbate every so often, just because, meh, I'm in the mood, why not? Other times, even though extreme sexual arousal can get rather painful, those of you who are old enough should know exactly what I'm talking about, Babs will think, really? Really? Now? Pfft, I don't feel like it. So she's not consumed by the idea of sex. As with the others, taking a partner would not mean love or emotional interest, but selfish desires, though it wouldn't revolve around relations. Her idea of a significant other would be one that would submit to her, so she could abuse them in other ways, make them feel like shit, but also convince them that she's the best they've got. As a fantastic manipulator, Babs would also act like the victim if her partner were to say enough is enough, which would guilt them into submitting again because they were unfortunate enough to fall in love with her. As for genders, she's never really shown any physical attraction toward males, her old best friend, Chainlink, being a boy, and a looker at that. Some people ship Babs and Chainlink, but there's a reason why, in Grudge of a Bad Seed, Babs says to her sister, "Besides, he's too old for me and too young for you." If we go back to age 10 for Babs, Chain is actually 15, making him 5 years older than her. Age is but a number, you say. Well, think about this. When Chain was 5, Babs was a newborn baby. When Chain grows to be 18, Babs will be 13. Age does matter because their relationship would be statutory rape. Plus, she never saw Chain that way. However, she practically worships Inky Pie. If we age Babs back up, she would be old enough to appreciate Inky's body, since she already adores her personality. All things considering, Babs would actually show some attraction toward a woman as sexy as Inky, but of course, Inky is nearly 13 years older than her, so a relationship is out of the question. That doesn't stop the attraction, however, and if Babs were to take a partner, she'd be looking for someone that was on par with Inky. Taking all of this information, Babs would be bisexual, or could be bisexual but prefer girls, or she could be a lesbian. Being a child, there's no way to tell. So babies, are you wrestling? The babies are wrestling. Okay. I hope this sheds some light on the reality of the Muffins characters, and understand that, in that universe, certain shippings cannot exist, such as Derpy and Minke, Babs and Inky, or Babs and Chainlink. Granted, we all have shippings where the canon characters are most likely straight, but we make them gay anyway. For me, knowing all of this, I do not support the 3 most popular Muffin shippings. Typo! Even if they were human. Altogether, I do not support My Little Pony shippings at all. So, it's really up to you if you truly want to go against the character's nature and ignore the facts presented, or decide to respect the details based on reason. I'm mainly talking about the aforementioned shippings due to age, mentality, and trauma. Still, I cannot control what people do. I mean, I'm sure J.K. Rowling isn't too thrilled with dreary shippers, and that's my OTP. Freedom of choice is a powerful thing, so no matter what you choose to ignore, at least respect the others, such as me. Please respect that others, such as me, wish not to hear about it, or will disagree with you. All the same, people who ship these characters should not be chastised, so respect goes the other way. I think, okay, so that's what I wrote, and, it's mainly due to me being passionate about wanting to explain things, and the fact that, yes, these shippings do bother me. I'm not going to be secretive about that. They do bother me. They do not make me ashamed of the people who ship them. If anything, I feel weirded out by anybody who ships ponies, but I feel like that sometimes that might not always be for a sexual reason. For me, love also means sex, so that's automatically where my mind goes to. Just like Minke Pie, I do have my own conditioning about the idea of sex. Mine is just much different than hers. So, considering all of this, I am not trying to insult anybody for shipping these pairings. I just want the information to be out there because, let's face it, a lot of creators don't actually, really show the reasoning and psychology behind a character's sexual preference. So, I don't know, I felt like I really needed and honestly wanted to explain that. Now, I know many of you are like, oh, well, this is an entry to the playlist of Muffins Behind the Scenes. Where's, who is Blinky Pie? It's been recorded. I just stopped editing it. And I know it needs to be edited, and it needs to have pictures like who is Inky Pie. So, the thing is here's what I'm gonna ask. This video was unedited. It has no pictures, because I'm on a hiatus of that kind of thing. Are you so desperate to hear about who is Blinky Pie that you wouldn't mind it being completely unedited without pictures like who is Inky Pie and who is Minke Pie? Would you be okay with it being completely raw and completely blank? Or would you prefer to have it be of higher quality, edited, seamless, and with the pictures? In other words, would you like me to be lazy and upload it anyway, just straight? Or would you like me to put the work into it? Because if you want me to put the work into it, you're going to wait longer. How much longer? As always, I cannot tell you. I work at my own pace. I work on things that I feel the motivation to work on, because if I force myself, I will lose interest, and I will get hurt, and I will get stressed. And that was very apparent with Muffins. So, And as always, Muffins is not over. People just don't like listening to me, so... Yep. So that's your decision on whether or not you want the lazy version or if you want the quality version. And as always, if you like this video, leave a thumbs up and click the little bell. And make sure to subscribe, spread the word of awesome, become a Reitannite, and I shall see you later, alligators and crocodiles. Goodbye!